Approximately 2/3 of churches in the UK are in rural areas, particularly in the Church of England, where over 10,000 churches serve rural populations. In our annual subscriber survey, many Roots churches requested resources to support agricultural Sundays, including Plough Sunday, Rogation and Lammas Sunday. Never heard of them? Well, even if you're not in a rural church, I think these resources still might be of interest to you, as they help us think creatively about how we can link our worship and prayers to the land, the harvest, the animals, and our local community and daily work. There is a richness to the history of these centuries-old traditions, but how can we make them fresh for today? I'm Melanie Cave, Managing Director at Roots, and today I'm speaking with Bob Goody, CEO of Rural Missions. Roots has partnered with Rural Missions to create a series of resources to support worship and mission for these agricultural Sundays. Listen in as Bob and I explore some of the challenges of rural mission, hear encouraging stories of what's working, and learn a bit more about how the church has been at the worshipping heart of the agricultural year. Thanks for joining us on the Roots for Churches podcast. Here we go. Welcome, Bob, to the Roots for Churches podcast. Great to have you.
Thanks for having me, Melanie.
So today we want to talk about some agricultural Sundays, a bit about Plough Sunday, Rogation Sunday. Do you know, I had to actually Google and figure out what some of these were when we first got asked to write resources, because I'm not in a rural agricultural setting and I didn't grow up in that sort of setting. So can we just start off by hearing a bit about you and your background with Rural Mission, and then we'll do a little explanation of what these agricultural Sundays are all about.
There you go. So you're going to test me in a few moments as
Exactly.
to do I know what they are.
This is your warning of the pop quiz that is coming.
Yeah.
But first, tell us a bit about you and how you got involved with Rural Mission.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So my name's Bob Goody. I'm the Chief Exec for Rural Missions. I took over from its founder, who'd been leading it for 36 years, Barry Osborne. So I took over March last year. So I'm coming towards the end of my second year in office, and it's been really great to be part of. So my background has been mission, is mission. So I grew up in a non-Christian household, non-Christian background, and the very first time someone shared the gospel with me, I became a Christian. My life was transformed. I went from drink and drugs and Satanism. It's a whole different podcast story, that one.
Yeah.
But I was healed instantly the moment that I met Jesus, and just got the passion. No one should go through life without knowing the truth, the hope, the forgiveness, the love, the acceptance that is found in Jesus. So ever since that day, I have been in full-time ministry, generally within a children, youth and families context. So most recently, I was the missions director for British Youth for Christ, overseeing their national landscape type of stuff, but always deeply invested on the grassroots, the bottom level, like urban and rural. I've been most places, done most things, and been paid the pittance that the church pays in the whole variety of settings. So yeah, I'm passionate about helping people to share their faith. Like, what does it mean to talk about Jesus in my everyday coffee conversations over a piece of cake? Like, it's not complex, it's not difficult, it's just Jesus is part of our lives, so let's go out and make it known to those around us and share the hope that we have. So that's my background. I'm married. I've got a little boy, Reuben. We live in Sutton in Ashfield, which is near Mansfield, Nottinghamshire. And in our spare time, we help lead a local church, as you do in your spare time.
Churches take up all your spare time, don't they? So
Without a doubt.
tell me a little bit about some of the challenges of rural churches and mission in rural settings.
Some of the challenges. I think probably one of the biggest challenges, and I know that you are working hard to make sure that this doesn't happen, but I sit in lots of churches where they've been told you need to use X, Y, or Z, and this is the program that is going to save your church. And for a lot of those churches, when there are 10 of them, and it's been those 10 for the last 40 years, to be told, unless you do it this way, then it's never going to work. And I think that is one of the biggest challenges they have. They're often told what to do, but not given the tools in how to do it. They're under-resourced, they're under-supported, and even for me, noticeably, I had the privilege of being in Lambeth Palace a few weeks ago in a meeting about worshipping communities and what are we up to? And there was two of us representing rural in that entire room. And it makes me sad when a good proportion of the Church of England, which was that room, is rural.
Yeah.
And for only two of us to go, we need support, we need encouragement, we need resource, we need people to actually bat for us and go, the rural church is still alive. I think they're some of the big challenges they face is just not being spoken about often enough and not being part of the bigger conversations because they have a huge amount to offer, but they're just not heard and not supported in that. So, yeah, I'll get off my high horse just for the moment.
Well, no, I think it's helpful for you to champion that because, as you say, if they're not heard, if you can be in those spaces and make those. And I think one of the challenges, I mean, there's the gift of the parish system is that there should be a church in all of these communities or close enough to get to. But it often means that you've got one minister serving multiple churches in a benefice, lots of very small churches, small populations and small congregations. So you've got volunteer problems or leadership challenges. And I suppose this is where Roots can help, is that if you're following the lectionary, there's a lot of resources that will equip lay leaders to lead. You can do more interactive things. It doesn't always have to look like a full service. It can be much more interactive. You can have children and young people in for your intergenerational services. There's just so much variety on offer. But I would say there's also a challenge of what we in the church are looking for. We think about growth, we think about evangelism, and I'm not sure what springs to mind for most people, but I think they imagine a big invitational event, or they imagine running an Alpha course or a Christianity Explored course with, lots of tables around a church and maybe that's like 20, 30, 50 people. And you think, well, we'd be lucky if we got 10 people every Sunday at our church. So what does mission look like in these settings? What's working?
I think it depends on the rural village itself because I think it all depends and varies. So one church that we worked with last year, they were a church of 12 at that point, and they realised that people weren't coming to them in the evening for a special service like the carol service. Whilst it was popular, people were still concerned because it was so dark going through the village and up the hill to the church. And so they decided, well, people seem to get to the pub easy enough, so why don't we move our carols to the pub? And that has actually been one of the real makings for that church, in that they moved out of their building and moved to the pub. The pub got behind it, so much so that they then started to go, wait, what does it look like for our Bible studies? Because it's the same thing. They either come to the church or they come to Brenda's home, who they've never met Brenda, but, oh, come and study the Bible in a random person's house. No, thank you. So they moved their Bible study to the pub. And they meet every week in the pub and have their Bible study, and people have joined in. It's made it so much more connected and accessible. And they're a church of 29 a year later on.
Wow, like more than
So,
doubled.
yeah, like significant growth. But you say, oh, yeah, across the last year, 17 people have joined the church. And most people will go to the urban mentality like, that's all right. That's nice.
I think
But
there's
we've
plenty of
grown
urban
by,
churches would be happy with 17,
yeah,
to be fair.
yeah.
But
But
yeah,
they just connected, and when we need to do things a little bit differently, through to another church not far from where I am, they realised they loved eating cake and drinking coffee together, but they never invited other people into it. And so they just started simple invitations to their neighbour. Do you want to come round for a piece of cake? Have a natter and a coffee. And in those conversations, the naturalness of, I'm going to talk about Jesus and, oh, and I think, can I pray for you? And they're simple adjustments. And I think we forget in the big projects and invite to this or invite to the other. It's important that everything we do as a church has an invite to the next thing. Like I did a survey of 100 churches a few years ago after Christmas. How busy was it? Oh, everyone came. Hundreds came to church for the first time. What did you invite them to? Very few of those churches could tell me anything they invited them to. But rural churches are far more into how do we invite, how do we do community, how do we do this together? We're a village of 500. We all know each other.
Mm.
So therefore, no one should be struggling and no one should be without hope. And so we're going to do it in the simple, the easy, the accessible, in the everyday life. And I know I'm preaching to the converted, but mission should just be as simple as I'm going to talk about Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. And for so many of these rural churches, if there's a church hall, that is the village hall, or it's a very central gathering place for the community. The church building, even if there isn't a hall, that will be a hub. It can be a place that can be open. It's just having the people and the volunteers to make this work. And I do just think sometimes, I guess this is where you come in, Bob, is that it's listening to people and encouraging and validating the ideas and saying, yes, we could make that happen. Yes, let's work out or here's some ideas from other areas. Oh, we could do that too. That's not too big a stretch. So yeah.
Yeah, most of my life is going to churches with small numbers of people that have lost a bit of heart and a bit of passion and a bit of drive. And we come along, we go for free, and we just love them. We reinstill some of that. Therefore, go. We're all called to go and share our faith. What difference does your faith make? Well, that's what we're going to go and share. And so it's been extraordinary the last 2 years to be able to do that and have the privilege of so many churches going, I now know what it means to be missional. Like, we've had mission action plans and been told we've got to do all these things, but never has anyone made it so simple as do what we love doing and love others in the process of doing it.
Mm, mm. Yeah. So tell me a bit more about mission with children and young people in a rural setting, because the examples you've given there are maybe more retired or adult centric. What does it look like with children and young people? Because they're often going to schools that are not in their local village.
Yeah, so there are a lot of villages that do have a primary school, or at least in the next village along. I think that is a key mission field that is often forgotten about, underused, under-resourced, under-supported. And as the church and as the cure of souls, if you've got a priest there, then it's important to be engaging into that space. Not just going in to go, how do I tell them about Jesus, but how can I love the teachers? How can I love these children and help to support and nurture them? So that there is just as many opportunities to engage with children and young people. I've not gone to a village yet where there isn't a child or young person. Like, the churches, maybe not. They might have one or two, but every village does have families in it. Every village has potential to engage, and it's more going, how can we be accessible and open enough that just because we've done things a certain way for the last 70 years, maybe there is a new way of doing things. And we can keep some of the old, we can retain that, but actually, what does a fresh expression, a new worshipping community, a new way of doing things look like? And even if it is as simple as, I know one church, they had a primary school and they had quite a few secondary school children in their area. And so they opened their doors once a week after school and just said, if you want a hot drink, you want a place to do your homework, anything like that, just come on in. And it took 2 volunteers, some squash, some biscuits, and an open door, maybe a little cost on heating. But they started to see families coming in, they started to see parents coming in with the children. And for some of them, it was the first real connection that they've managed to have with their child, because at home you do your separate things and things become a bit more manic. But they're like, once a week we get to come in here, we get to have a drink and a biscuit, somewhere warm, somewhere safe, somewhere that's welcomed us in, and we just get to talk as family. And we've been able to have conversations with church, and they're now exploring what does a fresh expression of church look like for them, whether it be a muddy church, a messy church, a forest church, a bubble church, a church, insert name of brand here, or is it just we're just going to maybe sing a couple of songs as we finish this, have a
Yeah.
thought. That
Yeah.
is being Jesus. That is being church together. And record it in a book if you want to. Let's just explore faith together. And you do hear beautiful stories of when the church takes it seriously.
Yeah. It's encouraging, isn't it? It doesn't take much. And I think families do want that space. Space to be, space away from a screen, space to connect with other people, especially as it gets dark and cold. A warm space, if you're in a rural space, where else is there to go? You're on the school playground in the summer months when it's nice, but when it's winter, to be able to hang out, have a drink with another parent and let your kids play for a little bit, that's a brilliant place to build relationship and to connect. So I love that. It's very simple, isn't it? It doesn't rocket science at all.
Yeah.
It's just like, be there.
Yeah, several years ago, Lichfield Diocese did a whole initiative, and I still champion it to this day. I don't even think it's anywhere to be found, but they did Pray, Bake, Read, like 3 ways you could support your local primary school. Pray for them
Mhm.
regular, drop an email to the head teacher, drop a card through the door. We're praying for you if we can pray anything specific.
Mm.
Bake them a cake, put it in the staff room once a week, once a month, once every half term, again with a card. This is from the church. We love you. We support you. Or go in and listen to children. My
Mm.
boy, he's 4. He's just started school, and I so value that he's got people he can read to in school,
Mm.
and
Mm.
they've got volunteers that go in and listen to them. And how beautiful is that to see the education of a child, but actually you're doing it out of love and of service of a God that you believe has the best for that child. So whether they know it or not, you can be praying as you listen to them read. Like,
Yeah.
anyone could do those 3 things.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science.
I like that. So let's talk about these agricultural Sundays. So here's your pop quiz. So tell me a little bit about Plough Sunday, because that's the one that's coming up soon. I'll give you the date. In 2026 is on the 11th of January. What's Plough Sunday about?
So it's a traditional celebration, as all of these are, really. Usually the first Sunday after Epiphany, so perfect timing. And it basically just starts the agricultural year. It's the chance when the community came together to bless the plough. So it's in the title. It's Plough Sunday. We bless the plough. We pray for the land. We ask God's favour as we embark on what He has and what He will provide for the year ahead of us. So there's a lot of gratitude in it and a lot of hope and expectancy, but we know that God does dependency as well.
Mm.
So that's what it focuses on. Like, let's pray for the plough. Let's pray for the people pushing the plough, and may we have the great harvest that God intends for us.
I was reading the resources that Becky's written, and she commented that historically there might have been only one plough in a village, and they would have shared it, and they would have literally brought it into the church. And I can't imagine somebody driving their great big JCB into church. I don't know if they put them in the car park, but that idea that the whole community shared one big, I mean, maybe they were expensive. It makes me think of, like, what does community rally around these days? Like, what are the things that we share? Maybe it's Wi-Fi signal. Maybe it's a co-working space where people, in those settings are together and are all working, but they share this space. And we have very solitary, individualistic lives, but to come back to this idea that together we are dependent on the earth, on creation, and obviously in an agricultural setting, if one person has a pest problem, it can easily jump across to another field. If there's disease, it can spread. That we are interdependent, and I thought that was quite an interesting way to go into this Plough Sunday of thinking again about our interdependence. And I wonder, like, a lot of these agricultural Sundays, you think, oh yeah, that would work in a rural church. But I don't think there's anything stopping us, if we're in an urban setting, to go, hey, this is celebrated. Like, we do harvest in urban churches because we recognize that we are dependent on the land and the harvest, whether, we all eat from its bounty as it is. But like, recognizing the role and the interdependency, this isn't just an event for a small parish church in the middle of farmlands.
No, like even if you are in a very urban location, you
Mm.
are still at the hands of our farmers. Like, go to your local Aldi or Sainsbury's and you will see there is produce that is there. And you mentioned harvest. For me, it's always interesting to see the difference between an urban harvest festival and a rural one, because the rural one does have a lot more fresh produce. An
Yeah,
urban one
rather than
is
tins.
tins. Yeah, yeah. It's just a whole mass of tins. Um, but there are ways that people get involved, and it is that community spirit that the rural still holds so greatly and so deeply. Like, they still rally round when things are done. And some of the farmers that I talk to and engage with, because rural is more than just farmers. I need to make sure that that's clear. Rural is more than just farm. But those farmers still do rely on volunteers coming onto their farm to help with harvests and things like that. They have real critical pinch points where the community still gets involved. And what a beautiful way that is. Like, I don't know if we had a major thing on my street, how quickly my street would get behind and do community spirit and let's all hands to the pump for this moment. But they do in the rural. It's still deeply embedded. And yeah, I would encourage you, maybe you want to bring a plough in, but you're right. Most of it is big machinery now, but they will still bring them into the middle of the town, into the middle of the village. They'll bring all the machinery, and that's just a beautiful moment to go. We want to honor farmers as well, because farming is a desperately isolating and lonely space to be in. So the more you can encourage a farmer, the better. And what better way than to come out as a community and bless their hands, bless the plough, and send them on their way for Plough Monday when it all kicks off for them.
Yeah. Pray for them in their busiest season. Yeah. I just think so much of our church calendar, so much of the way church is done is actually set and based around an agricultural schedule. So even the time that we have for Sunday service, I understand that is because, like, it doesn't have to be at 10:30 or 11. It's so that you can get up and feed the cows and the chickens and then get back and have a wash before you go into church. And it's like farmers don't get a Sabbath, really. They still got to look after the animals. And so there's so much of what we do that is so set on this agricultural rhythm, but we are now in urban settings, very distant from that. And I think it's quite nice to reflect and say, look, this is our tradition, this is where this has come from, but also to reconnect again with land, with space, with those rhythms and seasons, because we've got our electric lights, we've got our food flown in from, I don't know, Argentina and wherever else around the world. So we don't notice what's in a growing season anymore, maybe by the price. But you can get things all year round. So we feel quite separate from that. So I think these seasons and services are really helpful to reconnect us.
Yeah. And that's why timing is different in rural churches as well. Because in my church, 7:30, 8 o'clock for an evening meeting start is quite common. But for those in rural communities where farmers are engaged, they're waking up, as you say, well, it's more around 4 or 5 a.m. for most farmers that I know. And so to say, would you come to a meeting at 8 o'clock at night when it's starting at 8? They're like, no, I need to be in bed. Like, in bed by that time. And so it is a real shift and a change when you start to take into account, how do we serve the people that are around us? And if they are farmers, maybe we need to relook at our timetable a little bit closer.
Yeah, that's good. So the next one that comes up in the schedule is May Rogation Sunday. So it's 3rd of May 2026. What's Rogation Sunday? I don't even know what rogation means.
So it comes from the Latin rogare, meaning to ask. So it's the time when the church asks God's blessing on the land, the crops, the livestock, those who work the land, often associated with when we beat the bounds. So where a parish used to walk around praying for its area. So it's basically going, everything we have within our realm, within our parish boundaries, everything here, we're going, God, we ask you to bless the land, to bless the crops, to bless the people, to bless those who work. So that's where the roots of that are. It's one of the older ones, for sure, but it's a great way. They used to carry a cross around and stop at points, like
Yeah.
if you've got bridges and farms and parish borders. You don't see many vicars walking around carrying a cross at Rogation Tide anymore. It does still happen. I do know villages that will still beat the bounds and pray for and ask God, would you move?
It's beautiful. Prayer walking. Like, it's an ancient tradition. And I think it's interesting to think about taking on spiritual responsibility for the land, spiritual responsibility for the community. Well, hopefully you're praying for your community year round, but that idea of physically walking it, physically. In May, there's a bank holiday weekend there, although that probably means it's guaranteed to rain in the UK. But you might get a nice day in May and you could get everybody out with traipsing along in their wellies. It would work as well. But yeah, I think this is a beautiful idea. And tradition to keep observing. And again, it doesn't have to be in a rural setting. You could walk in your urban streets. You can pray blessing over the leisure centre, the schools, the places of business. Why not set up a Rogation Sunday prayer walk in your community?
Yeah. But how many of us walk anywhere anymore? That's the key question. Like the rural do, they go house to house and across the village, whereas I know for me, like my office is not far from my home, but I still drive here. We've gotten out the art of walking, never
Yeah.
mind prayer walking. So maybe we need to reclaim some of that. You're right.
Yeah. It's interesting. Okay. And the next one I've got is Lammas Sunday, which falls on the 1st of August every year, but then you celebrate it on the closest Sunday, which would be the 2nd of August in 2026. What's
Yeah.
Lammas Sunday?
So Lammas or loaf mass
Okay.
is what it comes out of. So that is the first fruits of the wheat harvest. So it was a chance, the wheat harvest come in, so we're going to bless this, we're going to pray it out, and often people would bring their first loaf made with the first lot of wheat from the harvest to church to be blessed. So
I love that.
what a beautiful picture.
Yeah.
Like
I bet church
love,
smelled amazing that day.
yeah, I love to make my own bread. I don't do it as often as I used to, but I can't imagine what that would look like. Everyone bringing their King's Mill or their Hovis or their Tesco thick slice. It's
less
very different.
aesthetic when it's in a plastic bag, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sounds a lot nicer when everybody's done a home baked bread on a platter. But yeah. Oh wow. So it is that idea of kind of first fruits, which is quite biblical. Like, this is the first fruits of my harvest. And I suppose in churches across the country and probably across the world, people do celebrate harvest generally, and there's not necessarily a set day for it. But this idea of Lammas or loaf mass, that is that idea of let's give to God our first and best. Yeah, and it's this is a very ancient tradition, like Celtic, Anglo-Saxon holiday. This has gone back many, many thousands of years. So how could this be missional? Besides having like a bake-off in your church, how do you think that we can make this into something invitational, something that the whole community could get involved in?
So I think we do to some extent, because harvest doesn't come too far after. And actually some people do use this as a chance to bring their offering, like their tithe, financial gifts as well. Like, there are ways that you could do this. A blessing of the bread service, you could go back to some of the old school ways of doing it, get everyone to bake a loaf, bring it in, maybe do some soup after the service, or well, that time of year, you could even do a barbecue. Everyone bring your cobs that you've made. But there is something where you could bring bread into it, doing how grain becomes bread, doing some school stuff, getting children, youth and families engaged with it. Like, come and let's bake bread together. For some of them, it might be the first time they've ever known where bread's come from, how it's made, giving back. It's a chance to celebrate producers, celebrate farmers, give thanks for God's provision through them, community meals. There's lots of stuff that we could do, but I guess that theme of first fruits is quite a spiritually deep moment for us. So celebrate our time, our efforts, our finances, our food, our homes, all of those kind of. Let's give him the best of what we have.
Yeah. And there's two sets of passages for Lammas. There's the bread of life readings and there's the first fruits readings. And again, that reflection on Jesus being the bread of life. What does that mean? Every culture around the world has some form of bread that is part of our staple, and Jesus is that for us. He is as essential to us as life. What does it look like for us to celebrate Jesus as the bread of life. And yeah, I do just think there are ways to make this invitational and accessible to those who are not typically part of church. And whether it is a bake-off, whether it is a community meal to invite people to, yeah, I think we can get in a bit of a habit of like, this is our church tradition, but actually a lot of people are interested in, especially these historic things. This is a tradition that's been going on for hundreds and hundreds of years. Would you like to take part? Do you want to understand the significance of it? People like to know our roots and to know, even if they're new to a community, they want to know, what's this all about? And the fact that something has been practiced and commemorated year on, year out, that's pretty impressive. Yeah. Okay, next one. Welsh potato harvest.
So a bit more like, obviously, all the other ones have the clue in the title. This is about the Welsh celebrating the potato harvest. So it is quite a defining agricultural season, potatoes, but it's a chance to celebrate, and it stems into the Irish potato harvest as well. They've both got the similar roots of survival, famine, celebration, identity, all of that collaborating together to go. Actually, potatoes, again, they grow in poor soil, they store well, they've got good nutrition, and actually it's a way that it's supported them for generations in sustaining them. And there's a huge amount that could be done around remembrance and hope and just ploughing on, for want of a better phrase. But it again, a beautiful Sunday that you could have to celebrate the first fruits of that harvest, and that this will sustain us for a generation to come.
Yeah. I think what's interesting is being aware of what's local to you, whatever the tradition is. So if you're a place that has loads of greenhouses that do tomatoes or strawberries, or have a harvest thing linked to you, but particularly in Wales and Ireland, the potato harvest is a big thing, and there's lots of fun competitions. Can you peel a potato in one long strip? How far can you roll a potato? All sorts of ridiculous games and competitions that can be done, decorating the church with loads of harvest themed things. Lots of communities love to get involved in these kind of harvest festival fete things. Again, great opportunity to open the grounds, open the church, and invite people in to celebrate community building events. So they're a great way to get to know people. And our resources for the Welsh potato harvest will be obviously translated into Welsh. So if you are in a Welsh church and you're Welsh speaking or bilingual, by all means, look at our resources. And the next one that we're coming along to is actually the last one, and this is to do with animal blessing. So the Feast of St. Francis. I've actually been to a service. I think I was in Scotland at the time, and I remember it vividly because I was a child and somebody brought their horse right into the centre of church to be blessed. And I remember being very worried the whole time that the horse was going to do a number 2 on the church floor. And I was, as a small child, I had high levels of anxiety. I'm like, what are they going to do if that happens? Because it regularly happens. But it was very vivid, like this ancient church and a horse in the building. But tell me about animal blessings and pet blessings.
Yeah. So again, the clue's in the title. It's a chance to bless pets. So it's St. Francis of Assisi had a deep love for creation, cared for animals, loved them. And so this is a way, just in humility, simplicity, to go, let's bless those that we surround ourselves with as well. Because for many, pets aren't just pets, they're part of the family. And for those in the farming world, those pets, they're not pets, they are family, they're working hard. So it is that way to just do that. And some churches do it in their buildings. I've known some that have had a whole multitude of animals, not just at Christmas. Donkeys are not just for Christmas, they're for every day.
They're for Pet Sunday as well.
Yeah. But you could even go out, like I know some churches that go out to the farmers' fields and bless the animals. And it's a great way. Again, let's connect as a community. People love animals. People will come out for stuff like this. And if they don't know what one looks like, watch the Vicar of Dibley. Like, they have a pet service on the Vicar of Dibley, and it's just chaos and havoc, and
Can imagine.
exactly as church should be. Because if you go back to the old temple, there would have been plenty of doves and things knocking around, and
cows.
Yeah, it would have been
Lambs?
a whole
Yeah.
chaos. Cathedrals didn't have pews and nice chairs. They used to have straw on the floor, and you'd come in, and that was part of the worshipping community, was anyone and anything came and went. And we've just made it clean and sanitary. I think it's a good thing, don't get me wrong. We need a safe and sanitary church, but sometimes we can get a bit too precious and we miss some of the joy and blessing that comes from letting people include their whole family into what God is doing in the church.
I think this one is particularly missional. The number of events I see advertised, like dog shows or, competitions with your pets, children, dressing their pets up as various things. There is so much love in our culture for pets. To have them blessed, to have them prayed for, I think this is a huge missional opportunity. And you could also, partner up with a local vet or like the Dogs Trust or something like that, do some fundraising, get the animals checked or that kind of thing. So it could have a multifaceted element, this event. But I think it's also connecting our faith to creation. Again, we got a bit cerebral for a while, didn't we? We got a bit like separated from our bodies, separated from the earth, separated from animals. And so I think there is something about connecting ourselves back again and reflecting on this theology.
Yeah, and animals do play a part in lives and in the kingdom. And I met a vicar last year. She rides a horse around the parish.
Right.
And when she goes to primary schools and does assemblies, and she'll go on the horse and park the horse up outside with its food bag on.
I'm sure park isn't quite the right word.
I don't know what you do. I can't think.
Tie
what
them
do you
off?
do with a
I
horse?
don't know.
Tie them off. There you go. It sounded nicer to park them than to tie them up. Yeah. But no, the amount of conversations she has, she doesn't drive around. She has her horse and just goes place to place, parish to parish on the horse. It's beautiful. It's as Wesley would have done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Back to our roots. Fabulous. Well, all of these resources, so Bob's team with Becky at Rural Missions have helped Roots to pull together resources for all of these different agricultural Sundays. But we're calling them agricultural or rural Sundays. But again, they can be used in any church that wants to connect with tradition, that wants to connect and to make these Sundays a bit more missional and invitational. Tell people a bit more about what Rural Mission does and how you can support churches, Bob.
Yeah. So we are an ecumenical charity working with any church in any rural community. We come at no cost to help you think and be more missional. So we do that through mission reviews or tailor-made consultation days where we bring together the church to unpack what is mission and how can we do it in our own context. And then we can hold you to account if you want us to and check in and go, did you have that coffee and cake? Did you have that kind of invitational culture change? We also provide resources, network support, all available for free on our website. And if you want to check in with us, have an audit, have a check, have a network, have a chat, then all those things, just head to ruralmissions.org.uk and we would love to support you. If you're listening and you're from an urban church, we can do all those things, but we're likely to say, would you pay for our time so that we can continue to support those smaller rural churches to continue to do what they do? A church of 12 needs our support more at a free cost than an urban church of 200 would. So we're happy to support and love anyone, but our primary remit is towards how do we help rural churches change their communities in Jesus' name.
Brilliant. What a vision. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
And thank you for your time and knowing about all these agricultural Sundays. You passed the pop quiz with flying stars, A+.
Thank you.
Check the show notes for links to the whole series of resources to help you celebrate agricultural Sundays throughout the year. You can find them on the Roots for Churches website and find links in the show notes to Rural Missions website to find all their free resources. At Roots, we know that rural churches face a unique set of challenges. We also know that no two rural churches are the same. So here are some ways our resources can help your church communities flourish. In rural settings, there is often one vicar covering a whole benefice of churches, so you'll need to equip lay leaders to lead services. Whether they're highly experienced or just learning the ropes, our flexible Worship Together resources can inspire lay leaders as they plan services. Is there no one available to preach? Well, we offer a ready-made thought for the week that can be read out in place of a sermon. Welcome families with our intergenerational Worship Together resources. You can be ready to engage everyone, whatever their age. Even if you haven't got separate children's or youth groups, you'll be ready to welcome whoever walks through the door. Have you got a children's group with a wide age range? You can pick and mix from our under 5s, children's and youth resources. They all explore the same reading each week. You can reach local school children. Use our children's and youth resources for collective worship, after-school clubs and special events. Roots follows the Revised Common Lectionary and offers resources for common worship when the readings differ. We offer consistently reliable resources to help you explore the readings every week, whether you're meeting for communion, as an adult group, intergenerationally, or in children's or youth groups. If you're in an LEP and you're a youth worker employed by a group of churches, then Roots is perfect for you. Our resources are written by practitioners from a range of denominations and backgrounds. This ecumenical ethos helps you use our resources with confidence when working in partnership with other churches. Roots exists to help you lead great church that's growing, relevant, engaging, authentic, and together. If you're a church leader or children's volunteer, you should know that each week we offer you fresh resources written by practitioners and theologians. Each session includes engaging ways to bring the scripture to life. Head to rootsforchurches.com to take a free trial and explore our wealth of resource, available for a very affordable annual subscription. You can explore a digital subscription or add on our stunning full-colour magazines that help you prepare and share offline. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and share with leaders in your church and network. And leave us a review, as that helps others find it. Together, we can grow.